Hi guys, I hope you're good. One second, let me double check if the voice and everything is good. Just give me a sign. If you are online, if one of you is online, let me know if the audio is good so we can start with the lesson. I'll wait for a couple of minutes and I will try to go at the same time live on Instagram. I hope it's gonna be good because I'll be multitasking, but I can try my best. So today's lesson is going to be the continuation of the lesson we did the last time I was live on YouTube. We did the letters ba, ta, and tha. So today we will continue and we will do the letters noon and ya. So if you didn't do the lesson that we did previously, don't do this lesson. Stop. Go ahead and do the lesson that we did last time. The link is in the description box. Go ahead and do that lesson. And yeah, thank you for letting me know the audio is good. So try to do the first lesson, and when you finish that one, come back to do this lesson with us, okay? So I'm gonna just ask you to wait 1 minute because I'm gonna try to go live on Instagram and say the same thing to those who are there. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna start. If you have any comments or any questions, you can type them. I won't be able to see them because on the computer I can't see while I'm explaining, but because I have to close my window and then open another window to see. I'm gonna stop every now and then, like every, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, 3 minutes, check if you have questions, and then I can move on. And as for you guys, those of you who are on Instagram, I just put my camera on landscape mode so that you can see better what I'm doing. So if you have questions, I'm going to be answering later on. So I'm going to start with a quick recap of the letters we did the other day. We did the letters. I hope I can use my pen nicely because I was used to another pen, and now that we changed it, I'm not very used to this one, but I think I'll be fine. I've been practicing a few days now with my students. Anyways, so we did the letters ba, ta, and tha. In Lebanese, you can even pronounce them be, te, and the. I'm going to quickly go ahead and write them for you. I'm not going to go into the details because the other day we did. But as I said, you can watch your lesson in the link below. So the ba, ta, and the tha, how do we write them? I'm going to quickly let you know again. When it's on its own, the letter is sitting on the line like this. Oh my God, my handwriting already started a bit bad. Okay, let's try again. I'm going to go slow. So this is the ba when it's alone. As we said the other day, in Arabic we have 4 shapes of the same letter. It can be on its own, it can be at the beginning of the word, it can be in the middle of the word, and it can be at the end of the word. So when it's alone, the ba will look like this. It starts with a curve, it flattens itself on the line, and then it goes back up. Again, let me do it again. It starts like this, it flattens itself on the line, and we put a dot under. Now, when it's at the beginning of the word, it's going to look like this, sharp. It's going to be sharp and sharp with a dot. Okay? Again, sharp and sharp. This is at the beginning of the word. This is in the middle of the word. As we explained the other day, in Arabic we have tails. Every letter has a tail so that it can attach itself to the letter before and the letter after. So if you start with a tail, here, you go up, down, and then you put your dot. Again, tail, up, down, and then you put your dot. You notice I'm going really fast. I don't usually go fast, but because this is something I explained, I'm just recapping. And then when we start with the new letters, I'm going to go slower. And finally, the last letter, we have a tail, and then we do it as if it's on its own. The initial, the shape, the alone shape. And this is the final shape actually. Tail, and final shape. So if we want to join them, I like to initially put them separately so that you guys can see it. So basically you can do the B when it's at the beginning of the word, plus the B when it's in the middle of the word, plus the B when it's at the end of the word. So now that you can see all of them and they are in front of you basically, you can go ahead and join them. So you start with the B. This is the first one. You shouldn't be removing your hand, by the way. I'm just removing my hand so that you can see what I'm doing. But you guys, when you're trying and when you're practicing on your own, don't remove your hand, okay? It's much better if you don't. So again, so this is the ba, and this is the middle form of the ba, and this is the final form. If I want to join them, I don't remove my hand again. 1, 2, and 3. Then you put your dots. Ba, ba, ba. Okay? We also spoke that we have the letter ta, and if we want to remember these, we can remember them. There is a secret that I can give you, because the punctuations can look similar. So the dot is below. It starts with a b, below. This way you can remember. I want to sneeze, but I can't. Anyways, so you can remember the word below, and you can put the dot below, okay? But then you can remember the word top, and you can put your dots on top. And this way, you would be writing the letter ta. It's top, ta, okay? It's the same. This is a dash. You can write it as a dash, okay? You can put a dash, because when it's handwritten, I like to put a dash. But in the books, in the printed form, you're not going to see it as a dash. You're going to see it as 2 dots next to each other. It's up to you to choose whichever you want. So you can put 2 dots here, or you can join them in a dash. Okay? So that's, as I said, B for the bottom, and which is the letter ba, and ta for the top, which is the letter ta. And finally, we also did the letter tha. And for the letter tha, I told you, you can remember the word thunder, because when there's thunder, which you write with a th, th sound, when there is a thunder, you will have to maybe wear a hat. I'm putting now the Instagram microphone. Maybe I forgot to put it before. So you will wear a hat. So for that, we will put a little hat to the letter, which makes it the letter tha. Okay? This is when it comes to the handwritten form as well. But again, in the books or in the printed form, you're going to see it as 3 dots instead of a hat. So let me go ahead and show you the 3 dots, how we put them. It's 1, 2, and 3. Just like that, okay? So up to you. You can choose either the dots or the hats. I personally don't do the dots. I just do the hat like that. Okay, so if you're new to this, this is not enough. This was just a quick recap. Go ahead and click on the link in my bio or in the description box. Do the first lesson and then join us for this lesson. So today we will do the letters Noon and Ye. So as you can see, the name of the letter is Noon, N, Noon. So of course the sound will be like the letter N in English, Noon. So maybe we can think of the word noon as an afternoon or name. Okay, so you can write this next to the line so you can remember the sound. That's a N, noon. We will also do the letter Ya, noon ya, or in Lebanese we can pronounce it noon ye. So in English, this is the equivalent to the letter Y. Because why? In English, for example, you use the letter Y to say cloudy, okay, with the E sound in the end, and it sounds E. Or also you can use it to, for example, for the word yellow. So it's a Y, it's not a E. So the letter Ya in Arabic has 2 sounds. It can be a vowel with the E sound in the end, as in cloudy, and it can be a consonant with a Y, yellow. Okay? So these are the sounds. Cloudy yellow for the letter ya, and name or number for the letter nun. Now, how are we gonna write them? As I told you before, in Arabic, we have 4 forms of the same letter. We have the letter when it's alone. We have the letter when it's at the beginning of the word. We have the letter when it's in the middle of the word. And we have the letter when it's at the end of the word. So, this is how the noon will look when it's alone, okay? When it's not joined, just alone. When you see it, for example, here, let's see it on our list. So far, as I said, we did the ba, ta, and tha. Now we are doing the noon here, which is this one here, noon. It's alone, it's on the list. And the ya, the last one, okay? These two. So, the noon, when it's alone, you can see it's very similar to the ba and the ta and the tha. It actually belongs to the same family, but it's a little bit more rounded, more curvy. And the ya, it does also belong to the same family, although it does look different, but now you will know why it does belong to the same family of letters. So let me show you how I'm going to write it when it's handwritten, okay? Even if my handwriting is sometimes crap, excuse me, because it's because of this digital pen. It's not like I had the most amazing handwriting when I was at school, even now, but you know, I'm going to try my best to be clean, okay? So, we start as a curve and we put the dot on top, okay? Again, try with me. Don't just be passive learners. Actively try with me. Yalla, again. By the way, Instagram people, if it's not too clear, you can go to my YouTube. I'm live on YouTube, okay? Again, so we will start as a curve. It will sit on the line and we will put one dot on top. Again, yalla, try with me. It's a curve. It sits on the line and it goes back up and we put a dot. So, like this. So keep trying a few times. So you see the ta was more flat, like that, whereas the noon is more rounded. Again, let's try again. Noon. That's the name. This is when it's alone. Okay, keep trying with me. By the way, guys, if you're not 100% sure about what's the size of the letter on the line, I can post something on Instagram as well on my Facebook, or I can send it to you. You can get in touch. Something like a PDF file or an image, so that you can use it and you can trace your letters, so you can know exactly how big your letters should be, okay? So again, as we said, this is the noon when it's alone. So now we want to write the noon when it's at the beginning of the word. It's very similar to the ba ta tha. The difference is there's one dot above. Again, straight and straight with a dot. Straight line with a dot. You will understand now why we need the initial form, why we need the middle form, because we will be joining our letters together. For now, just write with me. This is what we call the initial form or the beginning form, okay? So it's no more rounded, no, it's sharp. Sharp and sharp. Again, sharp and sharp. Sharp, sharp. Let's try many times until your hand gets used to it. I will answer your questions in a bit, guys, okay? Sharp and sharp. Sharp, sharp. Okay? So far, we know how to write the letter when it's alone, okay? And we know how to write it when it's at the beginning of the word. So this is alone, okay? And this is at the beginning of the word. Let me make it a bit thicker for you guys to see. So this is alone. This is at the beginning of the word. Now we're going to write it in the middle of the word. In the middle of the word, always imagine your letters should have a tail on the right to attach itself to the letter before, and it should also have a tail on the left to attach itself to the letter after, which means our middle form of the noon, so now I'm going to write the middle form. Our middle form of the noon will look exactly the same as the initial form, but with a tail. So we will start with a tail. Okay, it's going to look like this. Noon, but with a tail. But I never ever do it this way. Why? Because in Arabic, my hand is always coming from right to left. So I have to always start with the tail, of course, and then write the letter. Otherwise, it will be wrong. So let's do the tail. So this is the tail. And I go up, down, and I put the dot. Again, tail, up, down, dot. You can trace it back. So I'm going to exaggerate with the size. Look at that. Tail, I go up, I can trace it back, and then put my dots. Of course, it should never be this big, but you know. Let me just use the eraser, you see? The new pen is not so great, but you know. Yalla. So I'm going to start. Tail, up, down, and I put a dot. Again, let me make it thicker. So this is the tail, up, down, with a dot. And now even thicker. Tail, up, down, and then you put the dot. Yalla, try with me a few times. Tail, up, down, dot. Yalla. Tail, up, down, dot. Tail, up, down, dot. If somebody hears us, they would think we're, I don't know what the hell we're talking about. Tail, up, down, dot, you know. Okay, this one's not so nice. Tail, up, down, and dot. Okay, so this is the middle form of the noon. I'm going to erase everything and just show you what we did so far. So, as I said, we're doing the letter noon, and the sound of it is like name, number, Natalie, Noel, our little baby. What else? Yeah, the letter N basically. So when it's alone, it's curvy. I'm gonna use the thicker one because it keeps on going back to this thin one on its own. So when it's alone, it's curvy. This is alone. When it's at the beginning of the word, it's straight. When it's in the middle of the word, it's the tail and then the noon. So we still have one more form. The last form, which is the final form of the letter. It always comes at the end of the word. It will look exactly the same as the shape when it's alone, but the difference is that it will have an additional tail. But the tail will be up here, floating. So we start with a floating tail, and we make it sit on the line. In some books, you see it maybe going a bit below the line. I like to put it on the line because that's how they taught us at school. When it comes to the handwriting, it's nicer if we keep it on the line, okay? So, again, I'm going to draw many final forms on the second line here, okay? So, let's begin. This is the tail and the noon, more like a spoon, okay? And then you put the dots. Tail, noon. Again, tail, the full form, noon. Tail, and the full form. One more time. Tail and the full form. Okay? So now we have all of them. Let's put them nicely with very nice handwriting. You can actually start creating your own list. If I were you, I would create a list of all the letters that I know so far. If I was very organized, but I'm not. Okay? But it's a very good idea if you do it. So for example, you already know the ba, ta, tha. Create the list. Today you can create a list with the name of the letter here. You can put noon. You can also write any word that reminds you of this letter, for example, number. And then I would write here alone, beginning, middle, and final. And then put all the letters that you know next to each other. So let's repeat. When it's alone, curvy with a dot. When it's at the beginning of the word, straight and straight with a dot. When it's in the middle of the word, it's a tail, then you go up, down with a dot. At the end of the word, the tail is floating, is no more on the line. Floating tail and the noon. Now, how are we going to join these together? I'm just going to remind you of something. When we were doing the beta tha, which I'm going to write very quickly here, the bay was flat, flatter, and it had a dot under. And the final form of the ba didn't have a floating tail like this one. Let me highlight it so you see it. You see the tail here is floating. So, oops, that was not nice. Wait. Let me highlight it with a different color. There is the highlighter. You see the tail here is floating. So it means something will happen. Something should happen. Okay? It's not going to be like the beta tha, which we joined here. So the ba had a flat tail on the line, if you remember from last time's lesson. Which means when we came and when we joined the beta tha, I'm going to do it quickly, not with details. We did it like this. The first one, the second one, and the third one, we joined them like this. Because this letter here was already flat on the line. The one here, okay? Whereas this time, while we're doing the noon, the tail of the final form of the noon is not flat on the line. It's flying. So what are we gonna do? What do you think we're gonna do? Am I gonna go ahead and join it like this, for example? From down to up? Of course not. So the way to do this is by remembering that, okay, in an ideal word, you should remember that, okay, the last letter that I have has a floating tail. So what should I do? I should push my letters up. So basically, okay, look, I'm going to use different colors so you see what I mean. So I'm going to start with the first form of the noon, the initial form, a bit higher. You see, I didn't draw it on the line. Why? Because there is a noon at the end which has a floating tail. So this is the initial one. I'm going to change the color so you see how the middle one fits in. And this is the middle one. So basically, we don't put two tails, elongate the two tails together like this, okay? It's like they're overlapping like this, okay? They should overlap like that, okay? That's why you see I drew the blue tail of the noon on the previous tail of the letter, okay? And the same will happen now for the final form of the noon. I'm gonna draw it on top of the blue line. They overlap. So this is my final form of the noon. You see how they overlap? And like that, these first two noons, they are on top. They are flying here. They're not on the line, okay? So ideally, whenever you have a word that has a floating tail, that has a floating tail, remember to push your letters up when you're starting to write. Sometimes we don't remember, of course, even I, as a native Arabic speaker, reader, writer, teacher, I don't remember sometimes, and it's fine, you know what, especially when a word is long. What I do, if I forgot to start, okay, I'm gonna do this. It's fine, it's not the end of the world. I'm just gonna push it under the line and that's it, I go on. I mean, it's not nice to do, you know, at school, this is not how they teach us, but sometimes we forget, and if a word is very long, that's fine, do it. It's better than doing this, for example, you know, when you put them on the same level. No, they're not on the same level, because the last one is lower here. Every time I come to erase, I scratch by mistake because of this new pen. Okay, so now that we have them again, alone, initial, middle, and final, I'm gonna join them one more time for you to see. Let's join them a few times without removing our hand this time, okay? Try to write with me. Watch once, and then I'm gonna give you some time to write, okay? So again, I'm gonna start higher. This is the first one. This is the second one, and the third. And then I put my dots, dot, dot, dot. Okay? Again, one more time. 1, 2, and 3. So we're writing the noon. Again, 1, 2, and 3. Noon. Noon and noon. One more time. 1, 2, and 3. Okay? Yalla, try with me one more. Noon, I'm going to remove my hand for you to see. And this is the second one. And this is the third one. And that's how you join the noons. Of course, in real life, you're never going to have noon, noon, noon plus noon together. Of course not. But just to show you how these letters join together, okay? At the end of this lesson, I'm going to try to put a few letters together to show you some real life words with the letters that we already know. Yalla. I'm going to erase this. Enough with the noon. Let's start with the ya. So, the letter ya, as I said, it has two sounds. It can sound like a y, as in yellow, as you can see my page, my favorite color for my Arabic teaching platform, and e, as in cloudy. Okay? How do we write it? When it's alone, let's start with the alone form firstly. It starts almost like an S that continues on the line and goes back up. Okay? You can think of it not as an S, but also like a duck floating on the line. Okay, so this is the duck. My line is the lake, and these are the feet of the duck. And if you want to remember it, you can remember it as a yellow duck, and the yellow, okay? It reminds you that you should put the line under because this is the duck. It's the feet of the duck. It's the 2 feet of the duck. Okay, so that's yellow. You can put a dash, and you can also put a line. I like to put the dots. In the printed form, when I say printed form, it means books, magazines, newspapers, and so on. You will see the dots. You will not see the dash. A dot and a dot. But in the handwritten form, you can do it as a dash. Again, yalla, let's do this. So start like an S or a duck. This is the head of the duck, okay? And the dash. Yalla, let's write a few ones. Write with me. My handwriting even looks like kids sometimes. This one is nice. Yalla, follow this one. So we're writing the letter ya, which has the sound of cloudy, yellow, you, baby. Actually, in baby, you have 2 of them, y and e, okay? So this is when it's on its own. I'm gonna erase it now, and I will show you how do we write this letter when it's at the beginning of the word and when it's in the middle of the word. And you're gonna notice that it's exactly the same as the ba, ta, tha, and the noon, but the difference will be in the punctuations, okay? So, when it's at the beginning of the word, again, it's going to be sharp. But this time, there won't be a dot above, there will be 2 dots under, which also you can join in a dash. Again, this is the initial form. Again, initial. Initial. The initial form of the ya. Who's writing with me? Give me a sign. Actually, I'm going to just stop for a second to see who has a question, okay? So this is the initial form. Let me check who has a question. 1 second. Okay, no one has a question so far. And Instagram people, I can respond to you later, okay? So this is the letter when it's at the beginning of the word. Now, the middle form, how are we going to do it? We can guess from the noon that we already wrote. We're going to draw the same as the initial form, but this time, of course, with a tail. So we're going to start. Am I going to do this? Of course not, because I have to start with a tail. So we start with the tail. Let me just move this high, scroll up a bit. So we start with a tail, and then I go up, down, and I put my dash or dots. Again, up, down, and dash. Up, down, and the 2 dots maybe. Up, down, dots, up, down, dash, it's the same. Something I want to repeat for you, so I mentioned it the other day, so you don't forget it. What is the difference between, where do I put the punctuation? When the letter is in its full shape, when it's alone, and when the letter is in its initial or middle shape, when it's cut in the middle. So basically this is the full shape of the letter. So the dots or the dash is immediately here under it, in the middle of it, okay? Whereas when it's at the beginning of the word, I'm not putting the dots here, no, that's wrong. We have to put the dots immediately under the line of the letter, here basically. We move them here, okay? So that's the initial form. When it comes to the middle form here, I'm going to start with the tail, go up, down, and again, I have to put my dots or my dash immediately under the line. Okay? So tail, up, down with 2 dots. Okay? And the final form, it's going to be exactly the same as my middle form, but then I will need a tail right here to join it to the letter before. Of course, I'm not going to do that. So how are we going to do that? Let's practice this a few times, because some of my students find it difficult to write this because it's curvy, you have to go up and down. So yeah, try with me. Start with the tail. Let me again scroll up a bit. Start with the tail here. It has a floating tail as well, okay? The tail, and then you do like an S or like a duck, which is floating on the line. And then you put the feet, the yellow duck's feet. So you can remember this is your yellow letter. Okay? Again, this is a tail. You know you have 2 ways of doing this letter. I'm going to give you the nice handwriting and the bad handwriting way. Not really bad, but like the natural handwriting way. But at school, this is how they will teach you. They will teach you the tail, and then like an S or like a duck. Again, tail, I'm doing an S after the tail, and I then put my punctuation. Again, tail. Yalla. I'll be quiet a bit so that you can focus and write. Here too. So this is the final form. Now, realistically speaking, sometimes we don't do this, and maybe even most of the times we don't do this. What we do is we immediately straighten this. So what we do is, instead of doing the curve after the tail, I'm just going immediately from the tail into the letter. Basically, I lengthen this tail and I immediately do this when I'm writing. You know, instead of doing this and up and down, I'm doing immediately this. Okay? So instead of doing this, I'm doing this. Okay? Again, because now you're learning to read and write, ideally you should learn to read and write the clean, you know, the proper way. And later on, when you want to be spontaneous, when you become faster or something, it's fine if you break the rules a bit. Okay? So for that reason, remember, we have to write the tail, and then we go up and down like that. And it has to sit on the line. So now I'm using a digital pen, so it doesn't always help me to put it on the line, but remember, it should always sit on the line. So here I'm going to go ahead and put the tail with the final form. Okay, so here we have the alone form, the beginning form, the middle form, and the final form. I will erase to write it one more time right after your list, right under your list, okay? So again, when it's alone, it's going to be just a duck floating on the line, on the lake, which is our line. This is alone. This is at the beginning of the word. This is in the middle of the word. And finally, this is at the end of the word, the final shape. So now, what do you notice here in the final shape of the ya? You will notice that the tail here is floating. What does this mean? Again, which means the letters before should go up, should fly with it, okay? So I have to remember to draw, oops, my page jumped, let's go back down. So we have to remember to start writing a little bit higher, not on the line, okay? So I'm gonna draw the initial form here, higher, okay? Plus the middle form here, higher, not on the line, plus the final form, which sits on the line. You see, we're not going to do that, but just for you to have an imagination. So if you join them like that, you see, these two are higher. So basically, to repeat this without removing your hand, let's try without removing our hand this time. 1, 2, and 3. And then I put my punctuations. This is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third one, third dash. Okay? Yalla. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Yalla, try it once with me. I'm gonna be a bit quiet to give you some time to think and write. So this is the first ya. I'm removing the hand for you to see. This is the second ya. And this is the third ya. Now let's say you forgot to push your letters up. What are you gonna do? It's fine. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Again, if you started here, it's fine. You can just push it down a bit and that's it. Life goes on. You continue to the next word. Okay? So now we wrote the noon and the ya. And from the other day, we know how to write the be, te, and the. So I'm gonna erase this and I'm gonna give you a couple of words that have a combination of the letters we know so far. I know we still haven't done the punctuations, the short vowels, which means the fatha, damma, kasra, all of these, which give you an idea of how to read these letters better. But for now, I'm going to tell you how we are pronouncing them. In future lessons, I'm going to explain in details about the punctuations and the short vowels. Okay? So I will give you a word now, and I will give you some time to guess how you would write this word. So I will give you the be plus noon plus te. And we pronounce this as bint, which means girl, bint. Okay? Actually, wait, let me do the first one with you, okay? So I give you a hint of how to work, then you can try the others. So when you do these, don't immediately all try to join them and that's it, you're jumping, No, don't jump and try to write it. Break it down, always analyze. If you analyze, that's the way to start learning, not trying to immediately do something difficult. So it's very, very good if you break things down. So, okay, I have 3 letters here. I will need the initial form of the be, because it's at the beginning of the word. I will need the middle form of the noon, because it's in the middle of the word. And I will need the final form of the ta, because it's at the end of the word. So the initial form of the ba, as you know from our previous lesson, is a straight line with a tail with a dot under. Okay, great, I wrote it. I will write a plus. And then what is the middle form of the noon? We did it today. It's a tail, and then it goes up and down, but this time the dot is above. Okay? And finally, the final form of the te has a tail with 2 dots above or a dash. So now we have them. They are in front of us. So there's no way we would get confused because we're not guessing, because they are in front of us. So now we can join them. I will join them here on this line. I will start with a be, the noon, and the ta. B, n, t. Bint. If I remove my hand, just for you to see, that's the ba, that's the noon, and that's the ta. Of course, I'm not writing it like on top of each other every time I'm writing. I'm immediately going from one letter to another. Let's try one more time. So it's b, n, t, bint. B, noon, t. Again, let's make it thicker. B, noon, t. And then I put my punctuations. Okay? Let me give you another word that has a noon at the end of the word to see if you can guess how to write it. We have the word ben, which is coffee beans. In standard Arabic, they would pronounce it bun. In Lebanese, we pronounce it ben. Well, you know when you go to the shop and you buy the powder coffee, you're not drinking it. We don't drink ben. We buy the powder coffee. So that's ben, okay? So we have a be when it's alone, plus noon when it's alone. So here, it's a two-letter word, which means we need the initial form of the ba, and we need the final form of the noon, not the middle form, the final form of the noon. So how are you going to write that? Can you guess? Yalla, guess. I'm going to wait 30 seconds to see if you guessed it on your own. I'm not going to know, but you know, you will know if you guessed it or not. Maybe you can type it as well. Hi, Yusuf. Hi, Zaytoun. Okay, yalla. So, I will need the initial form of the ba plus the final form of the noon, which has a floating tail here. What does this mean? I'm not gonna join them like that together. No, I have to raise this thing here up. So I'm gonna do the ba up, and then I'm gonna write the noon. And if I don't remove my hand, it's gonna look like this. Again. Ba, noon. Ben, coffee, ground coffee or beans or powder. So that's ben. So let me erase and write down the words that we did today. The first one is bint, which is girl. And the second one is ben, which is coffee beans. B, n, t. B, noon, t, girl. And ben, b, noon, coffee beans. Let's do one more word. I'm gonna make it a little bit long. Bravo, Laurence, it's ben, صح. So I'm gonna write the word, let me write it. It's beiti. Beiti means my house. In standard Arabic, we will not pronounce it beiti, we will pronounce it beiti. So it's ba plus, yeah, so be, ye, te, or ta, plus the letter ya one more time. By the way, something I didn't mention. This is for the Levantine Arabic learners, the Lebanese Arabic learners. 100% of the times, when your ya comes at the end of the word, you can pronounce it as an A sound instead of an E. This is just a Lebanese thing, okay? Either one would be correct. Like cloudy would be correct as well. Or the A sound would be correct. But in Lebanese, we pronounce it as an A always when it comes at the end of the word, instead of an E. So how are we going to write this? Let's analyze again. Let's not jump ahead of the game, okay? So we will need, let me scroll up again, 1 second. We will need the initial form of the ba. Okay, we wrote it. Plus the middle form of the ya. It has a tail, it goes up and down. with a line under. Then we will need another middle form of the ta because we have two letters in the middle, right? So I'm going to write the middle form of the ta. And now we will need the final form of the ya, which is the tail and the duck, like that. Okay? So try to join them now. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds to join them. It should be easy now, you see, because every letter and every shape is in front of you. You have the initial, middle, and final. All you need to do is put them together. But remember, the ye at the end of the word has a floating tail, which means everything else, what's going to happen to them? It's going to be pushed up. Okay? So, I'm not going to start here on the line. I'm going to start higher. Okay? So I will do the first be. I'm going to remove my hand, although again, I shouldn't remove my hand. I remove my hands a lot of times, by the way, when a word is long. So this is the ba. This is the ya. This is the ta. And again, the ya. In Lebanese, we can even call it ye. Be, te, the, noon, ye. So this one, we pronounce it beite. Beite. And it means my house, because the word beit means house, and this e or a in the end means my, makes it my. It's a possessive ending, beite. Okay, let's write it one more time, because this time I was removing my hand to show you. But when you're really writing, you shouldn't remove your hand, and it flows. So this is the ba, ye, te, e. So with the punctuation, beite. Okay? Yalla, one last time. Try again. Ba, ye, te, e, beite. Maybe now it's a bit fast for you because we're live, but later on, of course, you can just watch the video more and more. You can press play whenever you need, press pause whenever you need, okay? So, beite. Beite means my house. So just to recap, today we studied the letters ye and noon, or ya and noon. The sound of the ya is either e or y, as in cloudy and yellow. The sound of the noon is n, as in name and number. And we learned to write 3 words. The first word was, what was it? I already forgot. Oh, bint, I think, yeah. So it was bint, which means girl. So b, n, and t. The second word was ben, which is ground coffee, ben. The third word was beite, b, y, t, and e, beite, my house. And like this, we have finished 5 letters of the alphabet. Ba, ta, tha, noon, ya. Go ahead and add them to your list. Always add 1 letter, 2 letters, 3 letters to your list. This way, when we finish, you have everything in front of you, and it would be like a little dictionary to refer to whenever you're trying to write words and you forget which one was where, which letter was what. Okay? That's it. Yalla, let me see if there's any questions before I go. No one has a question. Esther, there's no rule to write the dashes from left to right or right to left. I don't know. Let me see how I naturally do it. Sometimes I do it from right to left. Sometimes I do it from left to right. Really, there's no rule or right and wrong way. So, for example, when I'm doing beite, okay, here I did it from left to right, you see? Maybe from right to left feels a bit unnatural to me. Maybe when you're putting the dots, then you put from right to left. Really, just follow your hand. I don't know what your hand wants. And if your hand feels like you want to do it from left to right, it's fine, do it from left to right. When it comes to the dots and the punctuations. Okay? Thank you, Esther. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me see if there's any questions on Instagram now. I'm gonna stop my lesson live on YouTube. Thank you for following, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys. And okay, let me just turn my camera and see if there's any questions. 1 second.